Sweet Loaf, what are you standing on?
The piece pile poop.
So the chickens have arrived. We have, 15 pullets or 14 pullets and one rooster. We have them in the temporary coop, and we're going to go about getting the permanent one built today. So I've got my cut sheet for all the material. We're going to go through the inventory of what we have. We're going to have to make do with what we have on site because the lumber stores are all closed, and I don't want to go down there anyway. So first off, we have to deal with some fuel tanks, and then we'll get going on the material. Over the last couple days, it's become abundantly clear that the tractor is going to be an essential piece of equipment. So I ordered a second diesel tank. This is a 100-gallon tank. I'm going to get the plugs put in, get it ready to fill. I'll put it in the back of the truck, and then we have a card lock station not too far from here that I can fill off-road diesel. So unfortunately, WeatherGuard, I thought that they were supposed to be the best. Didn't think to include plugs or caps or anything. So thankfully, through Granddad's stash, I think we'll probably have what we need. This crisis we're all going through has, I guess, snapped reality into focus like nothing before. I guess the irony of everything is that this chest of bits and pieces that my granddad collected over his entire life was a direct result of the Great Depression, of him and his family going without, and he never wanted to do that again. Having this is it's surreal right now. I've even changed my way of thinking. This is a perfect example. When I had my first tank, the gas tank, this came in it, the plug right there. Normally I would have just thrown that out, right? I'm like, I never need that. I put something else in there. But because I saw what was coming, I threw it in here like Granddad would have done. And sure enough, here we have another tank that needs this and didn't come with one, and we're set. Also, the plug it didn't come with is going to be in his stuff here as well. Looks like breakfast is ready. Ooh, it smells good. What's for breakfast?
Breakfast burritos.
Ooh, that beats oatmeal. The forecast was for snow, and we woke up with just a little tiny bit, but I would imagine it'll be gone in the next hour or two. Kind of sad to see the school bus going by. Mrs. W was telling me that they're delivering lunches for the kids that apparently don't have enough food to eat at home. I don't know how you do it, but that looks delicious.
I hope it tastes delicious.
Is this one mine? Mm-hmm. Do you need some help?
Oh, you want some help? Oh, no placemats this morning, huh, bud?
Do we eat before everyone's seated and we have the blessing? I will say the blessing, but we have to wait for Jack and Mama to sit down. That would be very rude to start eating without them. Manners are important. That's what separates us from East Coast guys. Something I learned from you guys that I didn't know before. Apparently normal Teflon will get eaten up or disintegrates when it comes in contact with petroleum. So I was told by you guys that the yellow tape, Teflon tape, works for that. So we'll find out. I hope so. Found a little half-inch plug in Granddad's box there. A little brass plug that will do the job there nicely. Boy, it's interesting. You know, when Jack and I were working yesterday, putting the chicken coop together and everything, when you can't replenish items like just little drill bits and Phillips screw heads and stuff for your drill, you kind of treat, things that you kind of just despised and didn't think too much about now take on a whole new meaning when you think of being without them for any length of time. This has got a nice rubber seal on it, so I've got an electric pump, 12-volt pump for a diesel tank I haven't been using. I had from the old excavating days, but I'll probably just leave this sealed up until the other one runs out, and then we'll switch the pumps. So Jack, if you'd grab all the plastic and non-burnables and put it in the garbage can, and then we need to sweep up and get these wood chunks, and we'll throw them away, and then we'll get those chickens moved. As several of you guys pointed out, our chicken coop is going to be too small for the number of pullets that we have.
They're teenage chickens.
They were bigger than I was expecting. So this was always a temporary measure. So what we're going to do is we're going to fork them, the whole coop, and we'll sit them out in the garden. We got to have that all fenced in and let them roam around. And Jack and I will get to work on our real coop.
Our rooster has feathers pulled out of his back, so he's got blue ointment on it, and I thought it was blood in the heat lamp. So I was like, wow, he's covered in blood.
You ready?
Here's him furiously pecking. That seems like the sort of thing a chicken would do.
It does.
Behold the strength of the man.
Behold the strength of the man.
This is funny because you're the person that never did any manual labor.
Very little.
None.
Yeah, we got power.
Are you bringing food for them? Because they're not interested really that. Oh, what is that?
I've got some rice and avocado and
They're going to be interested in the rice.
are they scared? How are they doing? They all make it?
Yep. I can kind of happy. Kiwi, you are a test subject.
That's not how you told me to carry it.
It is my falcon.
There, now it's proper, isn't it?
Jack and I are going to divide and conquer. He's going to build a temporary run here so they can come out at something that's going to have a roof on it. I don't think that they will last very long around here with all of the eagles and the hawks that are always always looking for something to eat. So he's going to work on that temporarily. I'm going to start putting the lumber package together, all the material lists for the real coop. I've got the design all picked out. We just got to cut all the materials. So hopefully, not hopefully, we're going to have to make do with what we have around here, because that's there won't be any trips to the lumberyard. Over the past several years since I've had the sawmill, I've cut a lot of these timbers from 4x6 up clear up to 12x12s. I got a lot of that stuff around here. This stuff's too heavy for a chicken shack, right? Too much work. Yeah, you could timber frame one, but it comes down to time, you know. And we got to get planted. We got to get the chicken house done. So we want to build it conventional. Nice thing about this is that we can get everything we need to out of these 2x4s, 2x3s, 2x2s, and such. One thing that that is impossible for me to replace is sheeting. And so this is what I did for that. When it dawned on me this pandemic was inevitable, I thought to myself, what are things that I can't reproduce? What are things what are things that I can? One thing I couldn't reproduce is sheeting. So I got with my buddy Ray, and he was of the like mind, and we bought a whole unit of 1/2-inch plywood. He took 30 sheets and I took the rest of it. This is something that's going to be really already paying dividends. I didn't know when I bought this what I was going to use it for, but I thought if we need to build a greenhouse, if we need to build a cabin for family members or refinish something, you know, if this turns into the Great Depression and it lasts for a long, long time, you know, and you're not able to get this stuff, that's a huge problem. So we have the sawmill, we have all the timber in the world, we can cut all the 2x, 4x, 6x material we want, but I can't produce that.
Probably half of the whole project. Yeah.
My original plan was, in addition to buying that plywood, was to get a unit of 8-foot 2x4s, because with those two things you can pretty much build anything. Usually they're about $1.25, typically around here. When I got a quote for them, a guy told me they were almost $5 a piece. I told him, I said, now this is a local lumberyard. You know, I know these guys. I bought from them for years, and I said, if our community, if we find out that you guys are taking advantage of this situation and price gouging to try to make a bunch of profit off of people's fear, you know, we're not going to forget that in the community, because there are other lumberyards that are not doing that, you know. And I don't know, you know, I don't know what the deal, but it looked kind of suspicious to me. I also bought a big box of torque screws, 3-inch deck screws, like the 60-pound box. Normally those are around 100, 125, $200. Your table saw is a pretty versatile machine. I mean, it's essentially a small sawmill. I mean, that's exactly the way the old sawmills used to work. I converted this one to 240, put a 240 electric motor on it, which gave it a lot more power, and it's pretty good for this sort of thing, especially, you know, ripping things that are not much bigger than 2x material. It'll be just fine. I'm going to put a ripping blade on. There's lots of different blades. The more teeth you have on it, usually that a blade that's got a lot of teeth, like an 80, is for fine work. It leaves a nicer finish, where when you're doing just hardcore ripping and stuff, you can go general purpose that's like a 40 tooth or even less than that.
She's coming to see the
to see the baby chickens?
Yes. The baby chickens. Baby chickens. Baby chickens.
You see where they have the purple on them? That's where you have to be careful. It looks like they got hurt a little bit where they have the purple on them. So don't touch them where the purple is, okay?
What's that?
That one's a different one. It's all black. You can pet that whole one.
What are you excited about?
The dump truck.
What's the dump truck gonna dump?
This was a dump. The plastic is really, really heavy.
So
truck.
he's gonna back up here, right here, and he's gonna dump the biggest pile of dirt you've ever seen.
Wow! Fantastic!
Watch this. You stand up, stand up. Here it comes.
Wow! Fantastic!
What was that?
This is a big noise.
What are you standing on?
The piece pile poop.
Did you say what I think you said?
Can you help me?
A big pile of poop?
Can you help me?
Yeah, I can help you.
Yes.
Get off that big pile of poop.